guys. Welcome to Conversations with Cora. I'm your girl, of course, your host, Cora. And of course, if you don't know, this is my husband.
What up?
George, as my daughter affectionately calls him. So we are going to start this conversation with Cora off with a conversation about Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. So I don't know if there's any people out there that love Stranger Things. But before you knew what Stranger Things was, I loved the show Stranger Things. Okay, Netflix series, really good. They took this big long break and then came back with season 5. So guys, I made my husband watch all 4 seasons so that he could be caught up, so that he would understand, and then we can move into season 5, which we did.
We did.
And we enjoyed it, except the ending.
The ending.
Well, I don't know that I didn't enjoy the ending. I think my biggest issue with the ending is that it felt like all of these things happen, and that's a word too, right? All these things happen and you get to the end and the snap of the fingers almost, and guess what? It's all over. And it's so interesting because the reason I say that, if you're a fan of the show, just now in this moment, it just hit me. We go through all these things in life, and really, if we just dial in to the one who can handle all the things with a snap, it can all be okay. So, but let's go back a little bit. When we were watching the last episode, you brought up to me this whole premise, like, man, Vecna was like the man this whole time. He been running around here getting everybody, and like in 30 seconds, he dead.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Sorry if you haven't seen it. I'm really sorry. You probably shouldn't watch this. But he was dead.
Yeah.
So another spoiler alert. This really isn't about Stranger Things. This is really about finding God in all the things. Sorry, I should have told you that. So you were like, oh my gosh, like they just that quickly got rid of my guy Vecna, right?
Yeah.
And I looked over at you and I said, yeah, but that's because, we often let like fear or whatever, it always seems bigger. Our problems always seem bigger than they really are. And how, it wasn't just easy for him by himself. Like he had to have his group, right? Yeah. Like he had to let people in. Isolation is a tool of the enemy, right?
Okay.
When you're on your own, when you're by yourself, it can be very hard to like release fear or to talk differently to your fears, to feel supported by the things you fear, because you don't have anybody to speak it out loud to give you that comfort, that tangible comfort about, whether or not that's a real fear, a valid fear, or wow, I hear your fear, but we got you, So you see I saw all these dynamics in Stranger Things played out. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts about it.
So when you put it in under that umbrella, I thought it was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Right. And when you put it under the lens that you just said, I think that's what it says about our interactions with the enemy. One of the things I always tell you is that we give the enemy way too much credit. And so we out here joining into battles that he really doesn't exist in.
Yeah.
You just got a cold.
Yeah.
It don't mean the spirit of sickness is upon you. You're a human that went outside when it was cold without dress properly. Man, you got a cold. It's all good. But God gave you medications to take care of the cold. And so we attach all these things to the enemy.
Yeah.
That don't really, he has no place in. And then we're looking for the superhero to come through and save the day.
Yeah.
When God was with us the entire time. I think you guys said it in on our ride earlier that God's presence is always there, but are you acknowledging
him? Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that on the two things you just talked about, right? I can have a cold, but God has afforded me medicines. Back to even the example of the TV show, Sometimes we walk around and we have a cold and we know we have a cold, but instead of going to the doctor, we sit on the cold and are like, it'll go on its own, except it turns into yeah, it might be him. But it turns into some sort of like sinus infection. And now we do need medication if we had a treated in the beginning, or maybe looked at our significant other, our husband or wife, and said, hey, I don't think I'm feeling my best, and started on that thing earlier, we would have never had the end result. Amen. And so the other point I made in the car, God kind of, for you guys who don't know this, God and I were having a conversation in my worship time with him this morning, and he was, speaking about that show, about Stranger Things, and about that specific issue with like fear and kind of those things being bigger, because we're not relying on him to be our source. And he also kind of like showed to me, and again, I keep saying kind of, and that's not true. He showed to me how it's not my habit to lean into him for all things. There's an acknowledgement that he exists and he's around and he's available to me, but there's not a habit of inviting him to everything. And so I'm like, well, what does that mean? Because God, I'm sitting here listening to praise. I'm listening to all of my good worship music, and I'm talking to you like, so what? I don't understand. So he started drawing me into this thought about like how I handle even just conversations or conflict, and recognizing that there are times, and there have been times, recent times, where I've had either conversations or some form of conflict that I knew going in this was not going to be good, or it got not good, and that's not a word. And instead of saying, in that moment, God, pause, Lord, I need you now. There's this kind of operating out of self. I'm going to stop saying kind of, because I feel like that's a way to make smaller the fact that that it is that serious to make God a part of everything. Okay. Right? So when you hear me say kind of, hit me with an or something.
Okay.
I didn't pause and invite God to handle the thing. And in fact, at times, don't even invite him prior to when I have knowledge that this thing could be bad. So if I know I'm about to have a conversation with somebody at work and I'm thinking it's going to be not a great conversation, my automatic, even though I may have already had worship in the morning, even though I already may have read in the morning, even though I've already invited God into my day, I should take another pause and say, God, I need you to lead this conversation. Whatever is I would say on my own, I want you to snatch it from my mouth before it even comes out. If this person attacks my character, if this person tells me what's not good about me, God, I need you to harness my pride so that your message can be delivered, and that my witness of you is not disturbed by what I might do in my human flesh, right? And so I think for me, the Stranger Things ending is intriguing because you see this big monster, right, that they've been scared of for 5 seasons. Everybody, you said it yourself, everybody has a reason they're scared of this monster. Your fears that you have not outwardly expressed may be different from the fears that I outwardly express or don't outwardly express. But together, when we get together, we find out we all have similar fears that might look like the same monster, that might, flow from the same monster. But together, in the same spirit, this is not a Stranger Things piece. Together, in the same spirit of worshiping the same person, worshiping the same God, we can kill this monster, right? But it comes from being that serious about how you invite God in to everything.
So I think that's big, the difference between invitation and acknowledgement. I think we as church folk are so accustomed to the routine of acknowledgement under the guise of invitation that we don't know the difference, right? And I think, if I was to say, hey, I'm going to the art museum on Monday, I didn't invite you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made you aware that I was gonna go somewhere. I acknowledged that we're going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't invite you. So if you don't show up,
Yeah.
I can't say again. The enemy kept her from coming here
Mm-hmm. True.
because it didn't.
It
I
didn't.
just never invited you,
Yeah.
and so I think that like practically, are we as believers aware of what inviting God looks like,
Yeah. I
or
think you just
do
gave a good example, right?
we just do the thing because that's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like we're like you're a big worship music person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on getting bigger about
Mm-hmm.
worship music, but I'm a big study person.
Yeah.
I will get up and study because that's what I've always done. That's actually part of my morning routine, but that doesn't mean I invited God into my study.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
It just means this is
That's
what I
what your routine
always
is.
do.
Yeah.
I might get in the car and listen to worship music. Did I
Yeah.
invite God into that space of worship, or is that just what I always do? So, like, practically, I would ask you, how do you go from routine to actual invitation?
So I think that you just said it, right? Because my strong place is in worship. And so you can put on any song or just pat your leg. And if you know anything about my family, we can get into a moment
Right.
of worship and praise with no instruments, and we gonna like bust out in a song or create a song in the moment and just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is literally like praise and worship. It's not fake,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's my strong place. I think part of it is one, recognizing, identifying, gee, God, I've been inviting you over, but I actually haven't set up a date with you. I actually haven't said, I've said, hey, you should come to my house, but I actually didn't tell you to come in. I didn't tell you when to come. So I think it's acknowledging for yourself, am I inviting God into my space? Because I think it's beautiful that study is your strong suit, but you just made a great point that study could be your strong suit, but is study your invitation? Because you can tell God, hey, God, I really like your word, but you didn't invite God to make that word applicable in a specific place.
Okay.
It's applicable in your study time, but when you, and this is not us, but when you see me, do you apply that same invitation that you have in your study to your conversation with me?
Okay.
Do you say, man, my wife keep doing I don't use what is it, man? My
Yeah.
wife keep doing massage punches on me, and I really wish she would stop. Okay, I'm really not hitting him, but I never mind.
It's on the movie. You have to see it.
You have to see the movie. But I'm over here like this, and you're like, please cut it out. Do you apply, God, allow me to speak to my wife kindly and tell her to stop
Yeah.
massage punching me
Okay.
in a way that's not hurtful to her? Or do I just lean over and go, what, you just quit? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I think when you think about the difference between that invite and the acknowledgement, you are God's man all day long. There's nothing anybody could ever say about that. Like, that's true of you. But when you represent him in moments, can they see that because you are showing up that way in the conversation? And the only way to know that is if you've invited him to the conversation.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I do believe that we struggle in it's we make God the God of the big things, but he's the God of the little things too.
Okay.
Right? And I always talk about how the enemy uses subtlety as a tool.
You do.
Right? The tiny little things as a tool. And I don't think we can overcome that if we're not that tiny with God. You know what I'm saying? I think we'll miss the subtlety of the enemy because we don't allow God into the small things, because we wait for the big things. So if I say, God, I'm about to go get my nails done, and because I really am. But if I say that ahead of time and I'm saying, God, whatever I get in there and is being discussed, God, if you want to use me in this space, God, illuminate it for me.
Okay.
Or God, don't let anything I talk about be anything that would bring you dishonor. God, keep my mind in a space where I'm completely thinking about you, and I'm operating in a mind frame that makes you feel like you can say, that's my girl. She doing what I call her too. If I'm doing that ahead of time, then the enemy can't be subtle in that moment. He can't bring somebody in who bumps my chair while I'm getting my nails done, messes up my paint, because I'm already preparing. I've already prepared my mind ahead of time. And somebody's going to say, it's just your nails. But it's just that serious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The enemy is busy in all things. Like, he ain't not choosing to do something because, LaCour just went to get her nails done. So I'm going to give her a break because she had the nail salon.
I think
I'm going to give you a break on your drive. But then we talk about road rage, because road rage is real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's like you pointed out something very apparent, that do we give all things into his hands. And so, like, biblically, a couple of things come to mind. Biblically, one is that the Bible says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Mm-hmm. So that means to tell you that his presence doesn't mean you open the door.
Yeah, very true.
And we lean really, really hard on our one-time acceptance into salvation. Mm-hmm, that he just in the house all the time. Mm-hmm. But clearly, if you were to sit down with us, as our son would say, and be honest,
yeah, that's his favorite line.
You would realize that there's a lot of times that we invited God in the aftermath.
Right.
Exactly. So it wasn't going to the turn up that before we left the house was like, should I even be going to the turn up? It was, I need to drive home from the turn up. Lord, if you just help me to make it home. And secondly, to go to your point of how about the things become routine for you, I was naming that Elisha told, go jump into Jordan 7 times. And he was like, why I got to jump into Jordan? And so the guy tells him, well, if he asked you to jump in to do something crazy, you would have done it. And so I say that to say that sometimes, like, God is pushing us. God is not present with us because the thing is such routine that he wants us to go do something else. Like worship is your thing. You're always comfortable in worship. Worship that not challenge you or stretch you or anything like that, because it's worship. But if he's like, all right, I want you to go take 15 minutes and study the Bible, could you sit down with 15 minutes and not go to TikTok, check Instagram real quick, send a text message, do an email? And so when I think of the enemy, and they say the enemy is like a roaring lion, I don't think he devours you by just like you being in the jungle. I think he devours you by being like, nah, keep doing what you've been doing. He's like, no, worship your thing. You ain't got to read. Or like for me, know what? You ain't got to listen to the worship music. You read, bro. Like you read, you good. And then as soon as I get ready to put on worship music, he start jumping in. Then he's like, hey, go on YouTube real quick. You can come back to the song. Just one quick video on YouTube. True. And now 15 minutes going by, 20 minutes are going by. And I didn't invite God, even though he was at the door knocking at the door of worship. Like, nah, you need this today. Open that door.
That's good. And the truth is, our bishop has talked about this even recently, right? There's more than one door. So he knocked on the front door of your house. But how many doors do we have in this house? Right? So how many, I think even Pastor Jennifer and Pastor Uzziah talked about this too, right? What doors have you not let him in? What spaces are you still keeping him out of? I remember as a kid, sorry, Mom, I didn't always keep my room clean. And I would do what? Come out the door and close it real quick. Or shove everything in the closet, shove it under the bed, right? And so, of course, she's like, is your room clean? Yeah, my room is clean. Of course I clean my room. It's not clean, right? And so figuring out, you may have let him in the door through the door of salvation, you may have let him in. But what else, where else do you need to open up a window, open up the doors, and allow him access to? And that's how you pull those things together. Again, if when you're talking about the space of invite and acknowledgement, there are some spaces I need to invite him to, and there are some situations that will, if I've invited him already, there are some situations that will illuminate the places that I still need him to take over. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm still not, all the way there yet, right? So I need you. There are people who, their communication style, their body language, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like it. So I already know if I've got to talk to this person, there's no need for me to go in there as just LaCour, because LaCour gonna be like, oh, She just rolled her eyes. Now what should I do?
Yeah.
Like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
I've got to say, God, you know, this kind. I just need to tell this person that, you know, I don't know. They got to, you know, write a story. You know, it could be just as simple as telling people good morning, who I don't usually speak to, because what we don't speak to them because, you know, they're not of the Lord. No, I'm just playing. But
No,
you know
we
what I'm
do.
saying?
We
Like,
do.
we'll say that. But I mean, you know, whatever the thing is, maybe they cussed you out 2 days ago, so I ain't gonna speak to them because they angry. But if God has called you to be kind, and I'm not saying that's the case, right? I'm just
Yeah.
making an example in this moment. Called you to be kind regardless of how people treat you, then I don't get to walk past 4 people and say good morning, get to the person who rolls their eyes and talks about me, and I've heard what they've said, and keep moving. Because again, protecting your witness is not about your integrity, like, right? Protecting your witness is about really protecting God's work,
Correct.
God's purpose. And so I may be called on the scene specific to that person who just talked badly about me, who tells everybody I don't know how to do my job, or whatever that thing may be. I may be called to be in prayer for them.
Yeah.
Guess who ain't praying for them? Me, because I'm mad because they keep talking about, you know what I'm saying? And we don't realize how, again, subtlety plays such a big part in the bigger picture. And so we have to be careful. And we do have to invite God into all things, not just into our day, but into everything throughout our day.
Yeah.
So that he does get the glory. So that we do what he's invited us to.
So what I think is, like, tying back to Stranger Things, what I find is, like, interesting that you say that, is that when you invite God into everything, he will show you who to invite to be part of your party.
There you go. Hey, party.
And so I think that, like, when you watch it and you see these people, they weren't trauma bonded. Right? And you like to think that from the, you know, when you get to the end, you're probably like, oh man, they was trauma bonded. No, they were all invited to be a part of a party because of what skill they brought to the table that later on.
Yeah.
I guess the best way to say it is this. They might not have all liked each other when they got invited to the party, but at the end, their purpose in the party was made known. And so, like, you know, you look at whether it was Max when she joined, and they used to always, or Will telling Elle she was never part of the party. You know, he wanted his four and no more.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want Max in at first because she was this.
Elle didn't want her.
We didn't want Steve in because of this. And then you find out that all these people were invited for a purpose. So we also...
And when the purpose mattered more to everybody, that's the difference. Because you can't get hung up on your stuff and my stuff. I don't really like that you got a beard. You know, you can't be preaching the word with a beard. You know what I'm saying? That's a hang up that has nothing to do with God's purpose. And when you get to God's purpose.
And that's what brought it to mind was you saying that, like, you know, you can get to work and that might be the person that you don't vibe with. But you might also start vibing with somebody you really ain't supposed to.
Yeah.
And you done invited them to a party that they ain't supposed to be part of.
Yeah.
Like, it might be that person that you don't vibe with, but they have a skill.
Very true.
So they have a skill necessary to extend your witness.
That's good.
But we only want the people who look like us, think like us, or copy copies of us, use the same religious rhetoric as us. You say your words and you at the end of it. Or you can hit all the notes in the song. We want the people who we think would be our vision of the party instead of God's vision of the party. And that's why we have to invite God in, because I might need to be a little bit nicer to you to figure out the skill that you bring, and I might need to be a little bit further away from you because you're not necessarily bad, but I gained some bad habits by being around you because I'm around you talking about the person that I don't like, but you say you love the Lord too, so we got to be cool. You know, like
that's good.
That's just kind of
good. And who's holding who accountable?
Yeah.
And God still expects us to be. And again, that goes back to your protecting the witness. It's not you. It's the accountability. It's what everything that God stands for and how we show up in all the spaces as His people. Because even before a person can or does read it for themselves, they see it through our behavior.
Yeah, your God's business card.
Yeah, every day, right?
Like your God's business card.
Walking advertisement, absolutely. Just call yourself a billboard and get on out there.
A little pizza sign.
Yes, that's us. Or the okay. I'm about to go everywhere else. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our review of Stranger Things. And if you found it strange that this thing was not about a TV show, but really about the God and all the things, please come back and talk to us again. And if you like or have a thought about what you've heard, please leave us a message down in the comments. And also, if you have a thought, a conversation that you want to talk about, you want to be invited to the table to have a conversation with me, cool, let me know. Or if you have a prayer, something on your heart, something you're dealing with, and maybe it's not something you want public, feel free to email me at conversationswithcora, and that's all spelled out, at gmail.com, and I will not only pray for you, but I'll respond to you. So again, thank y'all for your time. This is Conversations with Cora, the reboot. I don't come up with like some
the sound effects. We're gonna get you a sound effect
that happens
machine.
in my head. So that probably sounds bad, but I'm gonna come up with like a sound machine or something so that I can have that. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and I'll see you again. Conversations with Cora. Whoop whoop. Let's do it another time.